Hey, this video is for Greek class, and this goes along with your Croy textbook, so I would encourage you maybe to grab it and look at it along with me as I describe the things in the chapter. This chapter is actually like one of my favorites because if you've been doing the work up to this point, this chapter should come very naturally. Because it's probably got one of the more simple concepts in Greek in that you're going to be able to recognize this right away. The future active and the future middle has a very distinguishing feature to them. And so this goes with Croy chapter 12. And here's the way to recognize them is future active and future middle verbs have a sigma, what we call infix. So in the middle of the word, that's what an infix is. So not a prefix that goes before or a suffix that goes after, but an infix. And so if you have this verb pisteuo, which you know quite well, I believe, and you want to turn it into a future, you just add a sigma before the omega, and that's it. That's this chapter. That's the vast majority of this chapter. Pisteuso means I will believe. Great, right? The future tense is actually really lovely in Greek. So pisteues, you believe, can become the future by making it pisteuses. And so you start with the future tense stem, which is going to be our second principal part. I will come back to that in a moment. But for a lot of verbs, that's going to look like the present tense stem, but this is now, there are some verbs in which it's different, so it's the second principal part. You add a sigma, and then you add the primary active endings. So if you know these endings, this is what you do. You take your stem, you add the sigma, and then you add that ending that you already know from your luo song. Luo, lues, lue, lu, amen, luete, lu, usi. You take that, and now you have the future. So luso, luses, luse, lusamen, lusete, lususi. These are them then. It's the same thing as your present active verbs, but now future active indicative. You can see why I get excited when we get here, because I'm like, yes, people are going to be able to grasp onto this concept. It now just means I will destroy, you will destroy, he, she, or it will destroy, we will destroy, y'all will destroy, they will destroy. I prefer this verb then, because I think believing is better than destroying. So, pisteuso, pisteuses, pisteuse, pisteusamen, pisteusete, pisteususin. There it is side by side. Again, there's your present active indicative, and you just have added a sigma infix. That's what makes it future. And you'd make it I will believe, you will believe, he, she, it will believe. Same thing happens in the future. You isolate the future tense stem, the second principal part, you add a sigma, and then you add the primary middle endings. So the endings that we learned in chapter 9. These are them, my, a, which is built off a psi that has been combined, tai, metha, sthe, ontai, right? So it looks like this. Lusomai, lusei, lusetai, lusamatha, lusesthe, lusantai. Side by side, there's your present middle passives. Here are your future ones. All you're looking for is a sigma in the middle, and when you see the sigma, you should immediately know I am in the future tense. It's just a really great verb like this. Verb form, verb tense. So pisteusamai means I will believe. Pisteuse, you will believe. Pisteusetai, pisteusamatha, pisteusesthe, pisteusantai. These are them. All right. Of course, though, nothing is quite that simple in Greek, so here's what the rest of the chapter tries to explain to you, is that sigma, so look, you get labels, dentals, palatals in the first line, and then you got a bunch of Greek letters, and then you got a plus sigma. That's what you're looking at. The sigma, when it combines with certain other letters in Greek, they end up creating a combined letter, and they had some combined letters in Greek. Again, languages are trying to speed up constantly. Think about how texting etiquette is constantly trying to speed up. And so this is one way to organize this that linguists have come up with that it's actually really helpful, which it depends on where the sound falls in your mouth. So labials has to do with your lips. If you have a sound that has to, the air pass through your lips for you to make that sound. So P, do you feel that puff of air? B, beta. Phi, do you feel how the puff of air goes through? When any of those that get the puff, the P, the beta, or the phi, meet a sigma as well, and that's the infix, it becomes just a psi. So some things are going to change. Let me see if I've got an example here that you can see. Here's one. Tempo. means I send. But in the future, pemps is a sound we already have. So pempso means I will send. So sometimes you have to look for the sigma, or if you're pronouncing things out loud, you're going to hear the sigma. Pempso, I hear it when I say it. So that's one reason to kind of at least read it over in your mind as you see sentences. The second group we're going to call the dentals, in which the sound requires you to have like your teeth formed a certain way. T, t. The air is hitting my teeth and stopping rather than going all the way to my lips. D, d, d. F, f. And sometimes zeta works this way too. Z, z. You feel it on your teeth? And then when that gets a sigma with it, the sigma is really strong, and so it's pushing too much air through for it to really stop. So it just becomes a sigma. Here are some examples. Baptizo, I baptize. When it has a sigma in the future, it becomes baptizo. That one's going to be easier to recognize because you have the sigma there, so it's standing out. But then you just have to remember what the original form was. And then the third one is the palatals. These are sounds that are made in the back of your mouth at the palate, the top palate. So k, the air is hitting the top in a k, a kappa. A gamma is actually in your throat, but it's pushing air up. And a k, you know, like a k sound that makes a k. All of these, when they get too much air from a sigma, are going to make an xc sound. So kappa, a gamma, a k is now going to be xc. Here's an example. Didasco, do you see how the k is last? When you add yet another sigma into this mess, there's too many sigmas, and so now it's going to become didaxo. The S sound is what's going to help you out, so if you can pronounce it to yourself, even in your own mind, it'll help you realize you're in the future, because it's still a sigma infix. The sigma infix is just affecting consonants in a certain kind of way. Here's some example sentences. I feel like this is a tense you're going to be able to get behind because all of a sudden now not only can you talk in the present and the past, but you can talk in the future. So, hey Adelphi, therapuse ta technon. The sister will heal the child. That's all it is. That sigma is what lets you know. Ego blepso. You hear the p, s, ps. So two things have combined, a p and a sigma. Ego blepso, I will see ton theon God. Ha didaskalos, didaxo ton logon to theu tois technois. We should always actually look for our verb first. So didaxo, xo. Yep, it's from didasco, teach, and then I've got a verb form, a noun form of that in front of it. So the teacher will teach the word of God to the children. Great. Lampsantai ta poia, pros tain thalassen. Lampsantai ta poia, pros tain thalassen. You're like, wait, what has happened? They will take the boats into the sea, but you don't recognize that verb form yet because there are some irregular futures. And that's why you have to learn the principal parts that we are starting to learn by using our map and by thinking about our verb chart. And then this is its own thing because in lambano, which is a word you actually know, has become this weird verb, lampsantai. But it's a pretty common one and it happens all the time. Words that are weird are words that we use frequently. And so it's one that you'll just have to memorize. For now, this is going to help you out. You should focus on the vocabulary for chapter 12 because it tells you all the weird ones that you need for now to be able to do sentences in your homework and read a bunch of the Greek New Testament. And then there also are irregular futures listed in paragraph 79 in your chapter 12 textbook. And I would, if you wanted to go the extra mile, I would suggest that you also make flashcards for these and just treat them like a vocab. So learn the future of those verbs as well. And then if you know those two groups of verbs, man, you've got a ton of the strange ones kind of all contained and you're ready to go. So it's not the hardest chapter, but then it does have some sounds that are changed because of the extra sigma, like pushing against certain consonants, and it also has some irregular forms, and that's where I would put my time. Since you aren't learning a chart, you're learning the irregular ones and treating them as your second principal part, because they might be totally regular in the present tense, but they're just irregular in the future. Okay, that's basically this chapter. I would encourage you, it's a short video, watch this video again. If you have further questions, you can either email them to me or bring them to class, and we can talk about them then. Okay, have a great day.